Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, where we'll be discussing how to demystify portfolio selection and prioritization with lean portfolio management. My name is Doug Wellesby, and I'm the channel manager here at Wickersoft. I'm also joined by my colleague, Jose Levy, our practice director of Azure Cloud Services and Agile PPM. During today's webinar, attendees will be on mute and the line will not be open for questions. However, feel free to use the GoToWebinar question feature to submit questions. I'll address these questions during the webinar and will respond via email if we do not get to your specific question. If for some reason you get distracted or pulled away from the webinar, no need to worry, as I will be emailing a link to the presentation once it has been posted to our YouTube channel. And with that, I'll now turn the presentation over to Jose, who will be handling the webinar.
And thanks everyone for joining us today to talk about demystifying portfolio selection and prioritization on lean portfolio management. This is a continuation of the webinars that we've been doing on lean portfolio management. We're one of the first organizations to have offered the services for implementation and solutions on lean portfolio management after the launch of LPM by Scrum-Agile Inc. So we're going to continue our update on the lean portfolio management framework and our solution. So in terms of our talking points today, I'm going to review the LPM principles in case you haven't seen them before. We'll go over the LPM framework steps and the key inputs, which is really, really important in terms of understanding what the LPM can provide your organization. We're going to go over the OnePlan solution for lean portfolio management, and then we'll close with some key takeaways. So why is this such an important topic right now? So lean portfolio management now is helping to address the concept of business agility. If you do any of the Google search trends right now, business agility is taking over digital transformation in a way, because all businesses understand that what they have to do now is execute faster, deliver value to their customers faster, and leverage more of the internal resources in order to drive that business agility. So it's really a need for speed, and lean portfolio management helps to address that. Just as a case study, everybody knows Microsoft and the growth that the organization has had since Satya Nadella took over. Part of that is the commitment top down to DevOps, which is a core part of the Scrum-Agile framework. So I have some interesting statistics here. In terms of the history, and this is directly from Microsoft, they actually started with DevOps around 2010. It isn't really until 2014 when Satya Nadella comes in and basically truly commits as leadership to DevOps. And in his case, he came from the engineer organization, so it was easier for him to actually explain the importance of this to the rest of the organization. That occurs actually around 2014. And that's when the one ES and the common platform that common code that everyone was going to use came into being. Since then, you can see the outstanding metrics that they have in terms of where they are now in terms of deployments per day. In terms of the teams that are actually developing on this platform in a DevOps manner. The outcome, and it's not the only change in the organization that led to this, but the outcome in terms of value creation for the organization in terms of market cap is pretty outstanding. From 217 billion August 21st, 2009 to what it is right now, which is over $1 trillion in value. And again, you can see that now we are in sprint 154 in June 2019, with the 82,000 deployments per day. This is all public information, by the way, and there's a lot of great background from Microsoft on how they actually accomplished this. Dean Leffingwell himself, prior to the latest release, stated that really what we're after is supporting businesses to have better business results faster and a more reliable basis. And all the case studies for lean portfolio management deal with four major improvement metrics: time to market, quality, productivity, and engagement. And in terms of the important ones from a customer perspective are time to market and quality. So you can see that they're pretty significant. Those translate immediately to a higher NPS score and eventually greater cash flow. And the others have to do more with internal KPIs in terms of productivity and engagement, and just as important in order to deliver value in the organization. So real quick, want to go to how we got to the SAFe LPM principles, and then we'll try to deconstruct those four items there. It started with the Agile Manifesto. Everybody knows the Agile Manifesto and really the reasons why it came about. Scale Agile Inc. creates SAFe and the SAFe House of Lean as core principles that an organization has to ascribe in order to begin a SAFe Scale Agile transformation. And we have lean portfolio management now, which really is driven by four SAFe principles: taking an economic view, basing milestones on objective evaluation of working systems, and that's really focusing on an MVP and doing a demonstration of that MVP. Visualizing and limit WIP in order to reduce batch sizes. So that's really controlling the amount of work that you're going to be able to deliver so you can commit to that work. And then the last one is decentralized decision making. And that will apply within lean portfolio management, both top down and bottom up, where we manage the portfolio Kanban, which we'll talk about in a second. So in the end, really, what we have to consider is that lean portfolio management really applies lean agile principles. And what we're trying to do is improve selection and prioritization of investments to deliver customer value. Now, that seems kind of generic, but investments in this case are going to be our epics, how we deliver value to our customers in our product. And then customer value, again, driven by very specific metrics in terms of either innovation accounting or KPIs that we are expecting from taking our epic and putting it into our product. One last point on when comparing to traditional PPM, it inhibits the flow of value, and there's some benefits or counterpoints from lean portfolio management that we have in order to overcome these challenges. And you can see that lean budgets and guardrails is one of them, and here we'll talk in a second about how we actually budget at a portfolio at the value stream level, which includes solutions. We're going to be doing rolling wave planning, both from a portfolio standpoint and also program planning, because we're doing program increments on a quarterly basis. We are trying to really negotiate capacity to deliver that value to the customer through our epics. And then finally, we have a lean business case that should allow us to put the investment consideration of the epic quicker. And we'll actually show that. So let's quickly go through some of the steps. So the first one is the portfolio. Lean portfolio management really deals in managing this portfolio backlog of epics. So not to underestimate the need to do program planning at the teams level or team managing teams backlog for stories, but essentially what we're doing is we're going to be creating these epics, passing them down to the program manager in order for them to be decomposed as features into the program. So this is the top down, and bottom up, we will be obtaining once the program has actually deconstructed the epic and has feature estimates. We'll be able to see exactly how we came about, whether our estimates were correct, and the feasibility of being able to deliver on the epic. So I've shown this before to operationalize the lean portfolio management process, and I'm going to break it down further. But essentially, we have some inputs. We are managing our epics in a portfolio Kanban, which lead us to a portfolio roadmap by value stream. So the portfolio is made up of value streams. Now, it's interesting within the roadmap that you can see the investment horizons, and it's a long-term portfolio. So we're not talking about that annual planning. We're looking forward to see how we're going to deliver value to our customers over the long term. If we break it down further, just for simplicity's sake, I've really added three sections within LPM. First, you have your building blocks, and we'll get into that in a second and what they're all about. But really what we're trying to drive is alignment. Leadership and the business have defined a strategy. We have to apply that and align it to our portfolios. And then we have an amount of funds that we are going to invest through lean budgets. The second major component is the first stages of the portfolio Kanban, which I've identified as ideation and analysis. And it really is where we create a funnel. That's pretty straightforward in terms of actually creating a pipeline of work or demand. We put it through a review bucket or phase, and then we get to analyzing, and we'll see in a second, we'll talk more, but really this is where the go, no-go decision is. So in terms of actually moving an epic forward in the Kanban, it's within analyzing. So this is selection. When we get to the portfolio backlog is really where we're going to do the prioritization. Not that we can't do it in analyzing, but it's primarily going to be done in the backlog, because this is where we have our points estimate for our MVPs, and we, together with other criteria, by the way, it's not the only way of determining prioritization, but we're going to use here our MVP points and a score that we're going to derive from WSJF, which is all over weighted shortest job first. You see that we actually begin calculating weighted shortest job first as early as reviewing, and we continue to use it through our portfolio backlog. And the rest of the phases is really about implementing, and really at this point, we're taking that epic that is approved and prioritized, and we're sending it to our epic owners in order for them to, and the teams to begin actually deconstructing that epic into its features and increments where they're going to be delivered. So let's go over these three phases real quick, because it's important to understand the artifacts that we're going to be using. So the first one is pretty straightforward. Most organizations have objectives and key results. So we're trying to accomplish a business result, and we're going to actually define what that is, that business result, and have a metric. That's really important that we have a KPI and that key result. So in most organizations, whether implicitly or explicitly, there's strategic themes we can extrapolate and complete. The second is the most important. It's really the portfolio canvas. So this is an adjusted business model canvas. And really, it's about defining our value streams, which are comprised of our solutions. Now, if you're already doing SAFE at the program level, this is going to be pretty straightforward, because you have already these defined as part of a SAFE transformation. If you have not, then this is a critical step. You really cannot move forward in implementing LPM without actually defining your value streams and your solutions. The other components are pretty much the same business model canvas. We have budget and KPIs also here. So again, we are putting budget to a portfolio which is made up of value streams. And these are development value streams, by the way. And we have KPIs or revenue that we're going to expect. The third component of alignment is really lean budgets and guardrails. Two of the items are more explicit events, ceremonies that will take place. One is actually driven by investment horizon. In other words, we're going to categorize every one of the epics into horizons in order for us to determine how we are investing into our solutions, into our value streams. And you can see here that we have, investment horizon 0 through 3, and some prescriptive percentages where the budget for the portfolio should be. So these are key inputs. We have, if we can complete this, then we actually can begin then to operationalize that portfolio Kanban. So let's go to the second step, intake analysis. So the two critical artifacts here are is the epic hypothesis statement, which we can use as early as funnel. You can have a ideation page, but if you wanted to, the epic hypothesis statement is critical to the reviewing phase. But here you can see that the format is more as a user story at a higher level. So it's important because the organization has to learn how to actually articulate an epic. So within the context of LPM, this is a suggested format. Once we get to reviewing, we go into analyzing, we develop the lean business case. And this, I think, is probably next to the portfolio canvas, is probably the next most important artifact, because within it, you will actually define your story points, the cost of the portfolio item, which is an epic, and then the return that we're going to receive. And you'll see right above that we have go, no go. So that is the decision criteria right below, and go, no go is where we say, yes, we want to move forward with this epic. There could be some flexibility in your organization how you actually use a lean business case. The point is that you should try to make it concise and clear for everyone to complete and not be bogged down in analysis, because that's what we're trying to avoid. We're trying to just move value through our portfolio Kanban with agility. So then comes prioritization and epic planning, and here's really where LPM prescriptively tells us that weighted your shortest job first is really the way, WSJF or WSJF is the way to actually do prioritization. It's a calculation that tries to score an epic based on what's the cost of not delivering and what's the size. So you can see how cost of delay is calculated. I think for time's sake, I will get to what the actual score is, and you can see that the highest duration epics, if these were epics, are going to actually receive the lowest score. And I've had customers come to me and say, well, that really means that the largest jobs aren't going to get done. They're going to receive lowest priority. Well, that's not necessarily the case. First of all, my counter to that is that there are long duration epics, but in most cases it's because it wasn't estimated properly. And we're talking about something much bigger than minimal viable product. The WSJF and the epic items are supposed to lead to an MVP, and that's a really important concept to understand. We're not here talking about, we're trying to get to that smallest delivered product that we can have, not necessarily, an end-all be-all product. So you have to make sure that, the epic is relative in context and not, an entire multi-year system. We're only talking about a one part of it in an MVP. The second is that this is not the only scoring metric that we can use, and we'll show that alignment is another important one. It could be that alignment overrides, or regulatory compliance overrides scoring by WSJF. Once this takes place, then we are in the portfolio backlog, and we're supposed to use our points, WSJF, and any other criteria in order to do prioritization. So in the end, these are the primary tools, but not really the only ones that you could be using within your organization. If there's others that you need to use, then go right ahead. So let's talk about our OnePlan solution for lean portfolio management. So OnePlan is a product developed and implemented by Wickersoft, which has 4 primary attributes. It's modern, it's integrated, it's collaborative, and best of breed. Well, many tools can actually say that, but in our case, we've actually taken years of experience to actually reflect that in this solution. We have a lean portfolio management solution that we built for OnePlan, and really is for organizations that are currently in agile transformations, scale agile transformations, and want to use any of the tools that they currently have for teams to work in an agile fashion, whether it's Azure DevOps, Jira. Really, we're indiscriminate. That's where we actually address the integrated and collaborative. We can bring data from really any solution into OnePlan and allow that top-down planning to meet the bottom-up work that teams are delivering, our programs are also delivering. So in this case, we're showing that we can bring data from Planner, we can bring data even from Project Desktop, and we can bring data from Azure DevOps. What we're trying to drive is everyone in the organization that is actually contributing to the delivery of value through a lean portfolio to have that work reflected, as well as providing the stakeholders that are actually executing lean portfolio all the tools needed to do top-down planning. So, and we'll get into the solution in a second just to give you a quick feature flash, but OnePlan focuses on 5 major feature sets: portfolio planning, the actual work planning, financials, resources, and then reporting and insights. In this case, we are delivering a solution for lean portfolio management. And if you happen to be working on any other solution, we can actually integrate all of that data into OnePlan. I think from the most important, part for the safe solution is that what we're trying to do is automate and operationalize lean portfolio within your organization. Yes, there might be variations. Yes, there are culture, but in the end, we want to follow, the guidance for achieving lean portfolio management and business agility.
So now we're going to provide you with a overview of OnePlan for lean portfolio management. So I will switch screens here 1 second. So everyone should be seeing now my browser screen, and I am within Microsoft Teams. Now the reason we start in Teams, it is because Teams is the unified collaboration platform for Microsoft, and now we are embedding our OnePlan solution within Teams. So in this case, we have a lean PMO. We've started with a SharePoint form that we've also integrated within the environment in order to show how we can capture ideas and also register our portfolios and our value streams for our lean portfolio. I'm not going to go into the details of the solution. I just wanted to point out that if you happen to have a demand management process and forms, we can definitely integrate that within the solution. If not, you can use the capabilities that we have within OnePlan to do that. And again, we stress SharePoint because it's universal. Pretty much everyone has SharePoint within their Office 365 account, and you can see you can integrate it directly into Teams in order to make that experience available for everyone. I'm going to move away from it, but I just want to point out that you can see here that whatever fields you want to capture and show within your forms, you'll be able to do that as part of your ideation process. Again, this is the funnel bucket within Lean Portfolio Management that we're going to address with ideas. And again, it's within SharePoint. So, but you can see also at the top that I have all of my areas of work, either applications or content areas within teams for Lean Portfolio Management. So in this case, I'm going to hit Portfolio, which actually takes me directly into OnePlan. So this is OnePlan within teams, and again, we're trying to drive collaboration. As I said, it's a modern, integrated, collaborative, best-of-breed platform that we're providing to do your top-down portfolio management, as well as your bottoms-up work that's coming up from the different teams that are working on value streams and applications. So in this case, I have 3 different portfolios, as you see. Just to give you a quick overview of the user interface, we provide the ability to see items on a list form. You'll see here that we have board. Within here, we have the ability to have different views depending on what you want to look at. Board being your traditional Kanban, and then the ability to also see roadmaps. You have dashboard, which would allow us to see reports directly from Power BI, in this case, embedded within our OnePlan application. So on the left-hand navigation, again, for OnePlan, we have, if you want to capture timesheets, we do have timesheets in the system. This is important if you want to track actuals by managed time period. Portfolio is the view that we're currently in. And from here, I can also look at resource plans at any level, really, of the hierarchy, and I'll talk about hierarchy in a second. We have our scheduler, which is the ability to assign or book resources directly to projects or epics. And then we have our plans, which are either, in this case, projects or epics. And finally, the resource center, where you can see how the resource profiles of folks in the portfolio application. In this particular configuration, we have portfolios, value streams, epics, and we go down to features. So that's important, and we'll show in a second why, because we actually want to not only show our portfolio backlog, but also show our program increments of features that are going to be delivered. We've included here projects just to show that if you happen to have NFRs or anything that is not managed in a Scrum-Agile fashion, can actually be brought into the OnePlan solution, and you can see it in its waterfall form within the Lean portfolio. And so I'm going to open it up just one more level so you can see that here we have projects underneath our upgrades and migrations value stream, and if I go under my Fabricam value stream, you can see the epics that are actually underneath that particular value stream. So we've gone from portfolio to value stream to epic, and those are the 3. And if we go one more level, you can see that we have features here also showing. So those are the 4 levels that we have within this demonstration. Now, as I've opened this, you can see that the rest of the summaries are showing in this particular view. We have estimated end dates, budget, benefits, what bucket we are in, the program increment, and the wish shift for prioritization. I'm going to go ahead and collapse this just so that we can focus on a particular level. So the benefits of using OnePlan, first of all, if you want to define the level within the Lean portfolio management, you can. So you see here as I open up my quick guide on the left here for the portfolio, and I'm going on Quick Cloud and Mobile first, I can actually see all the different actions and all the different objects that I'm tracking. So if I go to details real quick, I have my portfolio definition or portfolio canvas, which is the artifact that is prescribed by Lean Portfolio Management, Safe Lean Portfolio Management. You can see that I have a number of different fields that I can complete. These, by the way, you can, they're obviously editable, and you can define them as part of the configuration of the tool. But it's important to note that we have, the ability to, follow and have at the portfolio canvas level, the form, so that you can have this be shared with the rest of the organization. If we go back and go down one level, we can do the same thing at the value stream level. And again, we have a number of different fields that reflect our development value stream canvas. So again, again, these are editable in terms of being able to insert any type of information. Obviously, they're reportable. I'll note that if you wanted to actually do portfolio budgeting, you can also do that. And you see here that we have a budget for the actual value stream. So the value stream is going to be made up of the budgets for the solution. So you can actually define a value stream budget, and these cost categories and cost types are editable. And you can see that we can also track budget, forecast, and actual. So this is a very good way of being disciplined about tracking your portfolio budget. If we go back to a portfolio, we will go one level. We can go down then to our epics, and you can see here that this particular value stream portfolio has a number of different epics. And similarly, we have forms for our epic definition, and the epic definition also follows the Lean Portfolio Kanban. So you can see here that we have this particular epic is in the implementing stage. We do have the ability at the epic level to define financials, resources, even a schedule and reporting. And as I showed before, the lean business case now is shown, because this is the way that we are going to actually define our epics within lean portfolio management. And you can see here that we have these initial fields come from our what's called our epic hypothesis statement, which we define within funnel. And then we have more numeric and objective criteria for defining whether we're going to move forward with the epic or not. In this case, we are already implementing, so we've actually gone from analyzing, so the go no go actually took place, and we're actually within the implementing phase. If we go here within financials, we see that we have a budget, and if we go within resources, we also have resources that have been defined for the epic. So we will use that later to do our prioritization. We can at any level, if we want to just focus on that particular level of the hierarchy. So you can see here that I just by going to plan type, I can focus on that particular level. And I have epic here. But I could, easily go to features, which are the features that we're going to focus on from our program increment. And let's go back to our portfolio so we can drill down and see what we can do. If we wanted to actually go to the epic level and do prioritization, that was kind of a first exercise that we can do, because OnePlan provides you with the prioritization features. So if I select prioritize here, I can start looking at what my WSJF levels are. And you note that I have here the levels that were defined when the epics were defined. And I can see that my support customer mobile is actually at a position of number 7 within our prioritization, when it actually has a value of 5, and it actually has some of the largest benefits that we can provide, and is actually implementing. So I think what I'm going to do in this case is simply, move it up to a higher position so that the rest of the organization sees that it is important to us. So I've gone through and done that prioritization. The other exercise that I could do is actually see what the resource load is. So I'm going to deselect prioritization and go to my resource plans. And I can focus on support customer mobile, which is our most important epic right now. And we can see that there are some teams that are actually over allocated. And I can see that support customer mobile, which is work assigned to Team 3, they really don't have enough capacity to actually work and support customer mobile because they're also doing another epic that has to do with sales reports. And I can't actually get to that particular epic here. You can see that I have, it's an epic that is actually off track. And it's still an analyzing, which, it's still not actually implementation. So I think what I'm going to do for sake of this exercise is take it off and see if I do that, I not only I relieve the over allocation that I have on Team 3. So I can go ahead and deselect the epic and then save it as a scenario. In order to let the rest of the organization know that we're just going to hold off on our epic for reviewing sales reports. It's off track, and it's creating an over allocation. So in order to meet the priority of my support customers using mobile, I'm going to go ahead and not execute my sales reporting epic that I have here defined. So that's one exercise that I can complete in order to remove that over allocation. The other that I could have done is add additional work. So I could go to my resource plans and then have another team participate. So we have Team 1 here. It looks like Team 2, for instance, now has capacity since we removed it from removed the work also from the sales reporting epic, and now I can actually also assign them to it. So that would be another way of providing more capacity to the epic. So I'm going to go and also show, let's go ahead and click off. We are at the epic level, and if I wanted to actually see how all these epics are going to be reflected within my Lean Portfolio Kanban, I can go here. I've switched the board. Instead of portfolio, I'm going to be looking at epics. And I can see here that epics in their Lean Portfolio Kanban are being shown. And support customer mobile, which is right here, is the one that we're most focused on. It is an implementation. So, if I wanted to actually look at, here's all of its metadata that we were looking at in the form. If I needed to edit any of that quickly, we are in good shape in order to be able to deliver all of the features that are within this epic. And if we wanted to also look then from a program standpoint how the features for that epic look, here we can then go to our feature backlog, and these are the 5 features that are currently in play for our support customers using mobile. So our program increments are shown, the summaries for budget are shown, and you can see that we have different metadata for each of them. And we can go back also if we wanted to and look at them in more detail if we wanted to by just going into feature. And likewise, as I stated earlier, we would we have the ability to define metadata for the feature. Now, at this level, we recommend that we work directly within Azure DevOps. So here, if we go back and focus on the team specifically, so here we have our support customer mobile team. We can see that that particular epic has integrated Azure boards within its teams, and we can come in here and see the specific work that's being done. These are the same 5 features that are being built as part of support customer using mobile. And then if the product owner, Scrum Master, Epic owner wanted to actually come in here and see specifically the work that was being done, they can go back and forth between Azure boards and OnePlan. The data is integrated, so they can easily work within teams on both the work that's being completed in Azure boards and making any edits accordingly, as well as the OnePlan resource management capability and budgeting capability, both at the Epic level as well as it rolls up to the value stream and portfolio. So if we go back to our lean PMO teams, we have also within teams the ability to integrate Power BI. So I'm just going to show here an example of how we can look at the different epics within reporting in Power BI. So all of the data that is coming from Azure DevOps, as well as being generated top down in OnePlan, can be reported on within Power BI. So this is a content pack that we've developed specifically for the solution, and it's entirely editable and can be changed to meet your specific reporting requirements. We have here on the bottom, you can see the tabs that are part of Power BI. We've used Power BI. This is pretty standard in terms of having different tabs that reflect views and dashboards that you're interested in. Here we have an Epic dashboard. Our FabricCam Epic or FabricCam value stream is actually shown here with all of its epics underneath. If we actually wanted to focus on one particular epic, we can, and bring in the data for support customer using mobile, which is the one that we are most interested in. And again, any of the summary attributes that are being tracked in either Azure DevOps and metrics that are being tracked in Azure DevOps and OnePlan can be reflected in a very simple Epic one-pager like this. If we were looking at resource information, we can look at resource plan versus capacity. In our case, we're looking at team number 3, and you can see that we're doing okay here in terms of capacity and demand. They're pretty much going to be allocated entirely to our support customer mobile Epic. So there's that particular view from a resource standpoint. We have a number of different resource dashboards that are available. This one here, again, we can drill into our team 3, which is really the one that we're focused on, and see if during the period of time that we're going to be working on support customer mobile, we have the capacity. It seems like we do have capacity, so we're going to be in good shape. And if you wanted to actually share reporting outside, this is also part of Power BI, as I said, so you can access Power BI externally. And you can see here that we have a dashboard that has a more summary metrics on the entire lean portfolio. Here we have ROI versus risk, but you can also view different metrics. Our project ROIs are showing here. If you wanted to actually track burn up and burn downs from Azure DevOps, you can bring those metrics here and do that accordingly for our particular epics and sprints. Issue count, if you wanted to summarize that. Here's our prioritization scores in Widget, which is our really the focus of our webinar. in terms of being able to use not only WSGIF scores, but also any type of prioritization that you want to perform when you're actually defining your epics. You can do that and then have them reflected in reporting within the tool. Let's go back here. If you want to track issues and risks, those are also available, and we can report on them accordingly within our content packs. Okay, so that concludes our overview of the solution, of our OnePlan solution. I'm going to go back and just have some closing thoughts on some key takeaways from Lean Portfolio Management. So as you can see, Lean Portfolio Management can enable business agility, and we have some steps here to begin your journey in terms of Lean Portfolio Management. The first is, if you're interested in generating greater flow of value to customers, there's the focus of Lean Portfolio Management is exclusively that. So you're going to try to accelerate and not be bogged down by the traditional stage gates. Here we're really trying to define how we can deliver the capabilities to customers through enhancing our value streams and our solutions by having these epics defined and then having them work through in a lean portfolio Kanban manner. So you're going to define your portfolios, which are your value streams and arts, and then align them to strategic themes. This is really important because alignment is one of the key concepts, and you begin by having those foundational inputs that I defined initially in order for you to have them be mapped to your value streams. You're going to focus on lean budget and guardrail principles to define your horizons, have participatory budgeting to make sure that you can define that the value stream budget, portfolio budgets top down, and then have capacity of epics be reduced as you put them through the lean portfolio Kanban. You're going to leverage your existing ideation to start your lean portfolio Kanban, and that's essentially however you define right now your ideas. Those are going to go into your funnel, and then you're going to go through and develop them in the lean portfolio Kanban. In the second step being reviewing with your epic hypothesis statement. The lean business case follows in reviewing and analyzing to make sure that you focused on the MVP. And you have given the proper analysis not only to WSGIF but the other prioritization criteria that we talked about in order to make your decisions on which epics are going to move forward in the portfolio backlog. We explained in the WSGIF scoring method. And that will provide you, better planning and estimating of your MVPs. It's really important that you focus on MVPs, that's really the how we are going to define whether an epic is worthwhile moving forward in our framework. And then as we showed, use your WSGIF and other scoring for selection and prioritization. It doesn't have to be the only criteria, but it is the primary criteria within lean portfolio management. So for all of those interested in lean portfolio management and enterprise agile, we have a free assessment in which we ask you a series of questions and prerequisites in order to have a sound implementation of lean portfolio management, and from there we can define a high-level roadmap for you to consider as part of your lean portfolio management journey. And then finally, if you're interested, if you're already in some form of Scrum-Agile implementation, scaled Scrum-Agile implementation, we encourage you to evaluate OnePlan for lean portfolio management. So we provide trials on a limited basis for you to see if we can accelerate and provide more insight for your organization through lean portfolio management. If any questions that you have on the subject, please feel free to write. I provided my email there and available anytime to have that discussion. So with that, I would like to thank you for your time and hope that we get to hear from you again. Please feel free to make contact, and please be on the lookout for our additional webinars on lean portfolio management in the future. Again, thank you very much for your time, and hope to speak to you soon.